So that's one of the things that they do. All sorts of other fluids. They're going to poke and prod you. You won't get more than 60 seconds sleep. I'm exaggerating because somebody's drawing blood, sticking another IV in you, changing a tube. You never saw so many things hooked up to you, but it's all cool. All these people are very, very competent, obviously, in this stuff, and you have no concern that that's happening. Here's an experience that I will tell you because it really threw me off. You wake up desperately thirsty, and in a nice way, they won't give you anything because they don't want the fluids to go into your body so quickly for several reasons. One, they don't want you to aspirate it and cough it up. Two, if they need to go in and do some type of procedure, they don't want the fluids in there. So until you're really stabilized, they're holding out on the fluids. They tease you with some ice chips and stuff like that, and you got to beg and beg and beg. So be prepared for that. Then the other thing that's a very strange experience, I will tell you, whatever degree of modesty that you went into the hospital with, you'll lose it very quickly. I've never had a catheter put on to go pee, and I thought they tape it onto the end of your pecker there and whatever, and you feel like you have to go to the bathroom line in bed in intensive care, and they say, oh, go ahead, you're hooked up to a catheter, and one, you feel like you have to go to the bathroom. Two, it's not in any way natural to want to go because you feel like you're going to pee yourself in bed. And then it was explained to me that the catheter is up your urethra there, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches, and there's a tube that blocks the opening, and she goes, nothing's coming out except into the tube, into the into the bag. So once you get that, it's a real struggle to get your bladder to reactivate, but it's really critical that you do. They want those liquids to flow. So I'm going to forewarn you, remember what I told you, you got to work this one, and you got to get peeing as soon as you can, and it's going to take a lot of work, and don't get too upset and pissed off, no pun intended. So they also have another goal. They want to get you off the catheter as soon as possible, because the longer that catheter is in there, the more it screws with your, I don't know what you want to call it, your bladder control. So here's the other punchline. Ultimately, I was able to go get a couple of pees through the bladder, and after, I don't know, whatever it was, a day, they took the catheter out, and then you have to pee on your own, except you're in ICU, you're doped up, you're hurt everywhere, looks like, felt like a Mack truck ran you over, and they give you one of these, I don't have it right here, plastic, little jugs, and they go, you can pee into it, or you can stand up and we can help you pee into it. Well, I got news for you. You're not peeing into it. You can barely move your arms and roll over and this and that. So here's what happened. I had to stand up, they'd help me out of bed, and I knew I had to pee, but my God, what an effort to try and get it to come out. And you can laugh, but you will go through this. God bless the ICU nurses, but they do this every day. I literally, the first handful of times, I'd stand up, I knew I had to go, and they'd hold that little plastic jug and, get my contraption hanging inside of it, and they'd just sit there and hold it. And I'm not exaggerating. I'd stand there for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, nothing, right? And when you finally get a little dribble to move, it's like, oh, relief. So you'll remember that one. So get over it. The nurses are there to help you, and that's what you're going to have to do. And the quicker you can get your bladder going again, the better off you're going to be. So once I got over that, that was pretty cool. Got some liquid in me. I think it was a day after I was able to get my first meal, and it wasn't really a meal. It was broth. Right? But let me tell you, nothing ever tasted so good as that first meal. So that's kind of my ICU, deal. I don't know what else to tell you inside there. And you're alive. Your family's come in to see you. I had a few other minor complications that are not worth going through, but you're just glad you have a whole team of experts that are around. So I was done with the operation on Wednesday night. I was in ICU Thursday and Friday, so I think 2 full days in ICU, and I think it was on Saturday they brought me to the step-down unit. And the step-down unit is where you don't need the incredibly expensive and resource-constrained one-on-one ICU, you're stabilized. They bring you down to a place where you've got one nurse for 2 or 3 people. So I get the whole concept. So they got me lower down to the step-down unit. I was in the step-down unit for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and if you can believe your ears, I was discharged with this major heart surgery on Tuesday midday. So you count it. That is Wednesday surgery, Thursday ICU, Friday ICU, Saturday step down, Sunday step down. I hold the camera with the other hand. Monday step down, Tuesday. So basically 7 days later, I'm on my way home. So that's what will happen to you. That's my message, okay? So it's all big head trip, very surreal, but you haven't really had to endure any pain. Well, I take that back. So when you're in the hospital, the pain now is in your chest where they've made the cut. It hurts a lot. You even try and cough, have a hiccup, God forbid, try to laugh. Wicked pain in your chest. So at my hospital, they give you a heart-shaped pillow. It's very dense, and if you have to do any type of movement, getting up or down, or if you're beginning to cough, you hold the pillow over your chest. It definitely helps to relieve the pain. So let me tell you a couple of other things here. These are the practical side of things. So I'm going to walk you through a bunch of pictures, but I also want to show you something else that in no particular order. Okay, so what you need to have set up, and again, I'm not playing doctor, but I'm going to tell you it's the same deal for all of us. You need a blood pressure cuff. You have to have one of those when you get home. It's all about monitoring your vitals once you're out. And by the way, the message I got from the hospital is they're not going to send you home unless you're ready to go home, but here's the goal. You go into the hospital for the procedure, and you go into the hospital to get your vitals stabilized. You go home to recover. So, you know, their job at the hospital is not to wet nurse you for 3 weeks. So you got to understand that, not get too freaked out. And I kind of understand that. I was ready to go, believe it or not, even though it was kind of pretty freaky to think 7 days after this major mess, I was on my way home. But there's also another thing. You want to get your tushy out of the hospital because every day you stay in there, there's more potential risk that you end up with some type of infection picked up from something else in the hospital, right? And your body's already in a weakened state. So, you know, this isn't the Hotel Shangri-La here that you want to hang out in any longer than you need to. So when you get home, let me take you through, you know, this. They tell you all these things you need to get. I'll give you my net list. Get the cuff, okay? You need to have your temperature taken. The one to get is the one you stick in the ear. This is all at $10 on Amazon. That's the equipment. And then I'm going to give you something that, in my opinion, is a very big tip, okay? Because it's a very stressful part of the transition. So number one, it goes like this. You get discharged. You're going to get discharged, and let's see if I can find it. I'm here, only I can't reach too far. It hurts too much. But there's my kind of discharge paper. I'm not going to let you look at all my personal stuff, but it's got all the list of take this, do that, squeeze that, and all this stuff. And you come home and you're like, jeepers, creepers. How am I supposed to make sense out of it all? Let me give you a tip. Everybody's going to want to help you, you know, whoever it is, your family, your friends. But for me, it was my butt and my bacon that's on the line. And there were 2 or 3 medications here that were like do or die, you know, heart rhythm stuff, the pain meds, the blood thinner, and you don't want to screw it up, right? So here's a word of advice. I started to take one of these little pill box things, and, you know, my family saying, here, I'll do this, I'll do that. I'm like, Jesus, creepers. Back off. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. So here's a system that I would recommend that you do that dramatically cuts your risk, puts you in control, and you will have no confusion. So listen carefully. I did not get this from the hospital. I'm going to offer it up to them because it's too obvious and too simple. I'm just kind of a type A, get it organized type of guy. So come home, I have 13 or 14 or 15 different things that I have to take. That's a long list of pills for a person that doesn't take any pills. Take this one then, take this one then, don't mix this with that, oh my God. So here's what I did. I went ahead and I took this is the part you need to write down, okay? This is the hot tip. I took all of my meds that were morning medications. What I figured out is everything's typically either on a every 12 hours, every 4 hour, or 6 hour cycle. So what I did is I figured if I woke up at whatever it is, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, those are my morning pills. I took the pills that were my morning pills and I put, you see the orange dot that's right there? I put an orange dot on those bottles, okay? So the orange dot bottles, those are my bottles that I take when I wake up, and I don't need to go hunting and read through this chemistry list of names that I can't even pronounce. I already parsed through that and I put the orange dot on there. In my opinion, it would be stupid to take the pills out of the bottles, because I'm going to tell you, in your weakened mental and physical state, I couldn't tell one pill from the next, and the last thing you want to do is go, oh, did I take that one, or is that one? Keep the damn pills in the bottle they came in. This way you will never have any confusion with what pills you take. So there are my red dot pills. That's the morning. You get that concept. Then over here, I'm going to tell you on the right side, these pills are two of them that you can see the red dot, but you also see the blue dot. Those are the ones that I take 12 hours later. So I take it in the morning at 7 and at night at 7. It doesn't really matter whether it's 8 and 8, 9 and 9, 7 and 7, but you get the idea. So the idea is that these particular ones are a morning and night pill. So if you look at it, if I had 14 pills, okay, that's simple. That bucket's over there. Those couple are, you know, the 12-hour cycle ones. And then what I did, and I'll explain to you a little bit later, is I took my stuff that was pain medication related and I created a separate bucket, because that stuff is really one of the major critical functions that you get to manage. And I separated those from these guys, okay? And then when I'm reaching for these, I know that I'm messing with my pain medication stuff. So here's my 2 cents. It's all about pain medication. I'm not a pill guy, but I'm going to tell you what, for the first week at home, dope yourself up, okay? You want to take what they can give you and you want to stay ahead of the curve. All you're going to have to do is go off schedule for a half a day, and you'll feel like shit, you'll feel it, and you'll go, oh my God, you do not want to fall behind. If anything, you want to get a little bit ahead. So in my particular case, they gave me, I call them, you know, oxy, moxy, whatever. There's a 12-hour one, so you take something every 12 hours. Then there's another one that you take every 4 hours. So you take the 12-hour one, and you take the other one every 4 hours. So after consulting with my doctor, and again, this is not medical advice, you need to consult with your doctor. I was having pain problems, and what I was able to conclude with the doctor is, if you need to / want to, I can take the 4-hour med every 2 hours if need be for pain, or I can double up on the dose I had, which was the 5 milligrams of the whatever it is, oxymoxy, every 4 hours. So I decided to just take it every 2 hours regardless, so I'm always ahead of the curve. That solved a big problem for me, okay? So the probably the worst day is the day that I came home, because I was weaned from the mothership, and by the time we got home, got the prescriptions, blah, 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 I was already off cycle 2, 3, 4 hours. My body's freaking out. I'm mentally stressed, you know, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, get ahead of the meds. Get the part of the program that you can manage. And then the other thing that was very critical in marking these pills for me that had me freaked out is the 12-hour med. That's a 12-hour painkiller. The 4-hour one is obviously the 4-hour one. And the message on it for the doctors, don't confuse the 12-hour for the 4-hour, because if you take the 12-hour one every 4 hours, you're going to end up in a coma. Well, lovely, right? So anyway, that's why I've got that bottle separated. I've got a big exclamation point on it, separate from the 4-hour one. Now, let me show you my other, you know, absolutely patentable invention. I made up a day sheet, okay? And the day sheet goes like this. You need to do this. It will relieve a lot of stress. So it's a piece of paper, and what it has, in my case, is 7 a.m., 11, 1, 3, 7 p.m., 3 a.m., okay? So I've got the time across the top, and then it's got the list of things that go down here, okay? And it's got a little dot as to when I need it. So when it says like aspirin, there's a little dot under the 7 a.m. that tells me that's a morning pill, and you don't see the dot in any of the other boxes. So I have all of my medications down here. It's very easy. When I wake up in the morning, I not only go to my color code, but let me show you what one looks like filled out. I just go down, and as I take the pill, I check it off, and I know exactly what I'm checking off, and I make sure each of the boxes are checked off. And if the time is not 7 a.m. and this one it's 8:30 when I did it, I put 8:30 up top, because if you're having trouble with some of your vitals, I did one day, I was able to call into the doctor, and it was very easy for me to give them some of my stats and this and that, and they go, wow, that's great, you're right on top of it, and we figured out what was happening very quickly. The other thing you're going to have to monitor is your blood pressure and your heart rate. That comes from that contraption. You're going to have to monitor your temperature. That's that guy. And the other thing you're going to need is you're going to need an accurate scale. So there's a digital scale on the ground. And the scale is not because you're on a diet. One of the big problems that you have with the whole operation thing is your body retains a lot of fluid, and they give you I guess it was a diuretic, Lasix, and it helps you pee like a horse and get the fluid out of your system. So I bloated up probably at least 15, 18 pounds in a hospital, and it was all excess fluid. They want to see that fluid is not being retained and it's being managed. So you're weighing yourself every day. So your measurement points are weight, temperature, heart rate, blood pressure. That's what you're doing. Use a checklist like this. It will simplify your life, okay? I hope that makes sense to you. Use the color coding. Hope that makes sense to you. The other thing is that I found out in pain management, I can't believe that it changes from hospital to hospital, but again, speak to your doctor. Every 6 hours, they give you, what is it? Tylenol. Right? So they call that the backbone. So it's like a layer of pain control. So every 6 hours, they give you the Tylenol. But what I came to find out is that in my case, again, speak to your doctor, alternating Tylenol with Motrin every 6 hours is more effective than sticking to one, because I think they both have a little different chemistry deal going. So I have the Tylenol and the Motrin, and I alternate the dosage that they recommended every 6 hours, one to Tylenol, one to